Okay, now that we have completed our spot healing, this was my before and this is my after, I'm going to do a technique to help kind of smooth out the skin, and it will kind of hide some of these pores. So what we're going to do, make sure you're on your top layer here. We're going to go up to filter, go down or select filter. All right, so filter, go down to blur and go down to Gaussian blur. Okay, so filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Make sure you have preview selected. Oops, okay. But see how it's showing blank? So we want to make sure our image is selected. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Now we can actually see a preview. And this can be really helpful. So you can kind of zoom in. So there we can see the pores on her skin. Okay. So now the radius, this is how blurred we want it. So if you go up to like 30%, obviously all of my little touch-ups are not blurred, and we can work on that here in a few minutes. I'm going to probably go about 5, yeah, 5.4. This is kind of nice. Blur. And I'm going to put OK. Now, if you'll notice, it kind of put a faint blur over this entire image, so her eyes aren't as clear. However, you'll notice there's these little imperfections where we went through and did some touch-up because those areas are still not blurred. So I'm going to click on my spot healing layer, and I'm going to go to filter, and I'm going to go to blur, Gaussian blur, and I'm going to do the same 5.4, and I'm just going to click OK. And what this does is it kind of it leaves the corrections that we made. It blurs them out too. So now we don't have any weird spots, okay? Then what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our background copy. And we're going to come down here to this little button here, which is Add Layer Mask. And we're going to click on that. And what that does is it adds a little separate mask over here. Now, when we're working with masks, white, the color white, when it's here, means that it's revealed. So it's showing whatever. And the color black is going to actually hide whatever effect we have on this. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up here and we're going to go to Edit, Fill, and we're going to fill it with black and click OK. Now I notice it actually hid everything but our corrections. So what you actually need to do is you need to create a new copy of your background and turn that on. So now what it's done is it's made everything clear. So I'm going to go back to my mask here. I'm going to take the paintbrush tool, make sure it's on white paint. You can do this with a soft brush. You might want to make sure your opacity is a little higher. And then basically anywhere that we want blurred out, you're going to paint with white. So I'm going to use my paintbrush tool. Oh my gosh. Okay, I accidentally clicked undo, so my background is white again. So I'm just going to go up to Edit, Fill, Fill with black. Okay. Make a copy of the image. Turn that back on. Okay. So click on this square here. Take your paintbrush with the white paint, and then anywhere that you paint, it's going to kind of blur. And what this does is it kind of gives a soft appearance to the skin. Now, I just want to do this to the actual skin, not to her eyes and not to pretty much her hair. So right now I'm just going to use this bigger brush and I'm just going to kind of come in and brush the areas. And then I'll come back in and kind of fix the areas that I don't want blurred. So I'm blurring her skin a tiny bit because it makes it a bit more perfect looking. It kind of has that porcelain look. Now if you notice over here in the little window, everything that's white is pretty much her face. I'm going to switch my colors to black, and I'm going to make sure her eyes are nice and clear. I don't want any of that blurred out. Same with the eyebrows. Looks like some of my corrections are a little blurred out. And I'll show you how to kind of fix that too. So I'm going to make sure the lips are nice and clear. Okay, so we have pretty much the details are nice and clear. Come in, make sure her eyelashes are clear. All right, you don't want the eyes blurred. Now you'll notice this area is kind of messed up, and that's because if I turn off my images, that right there got blurred out. So technically what you can do, what's nice about having all of this on its own layer, is I can come in here with the eraser tool. Make sure you're clicked on that layer. Make my brush a little bit bigger. Ooh, not that big. Be touchy. And I'm going to come in here and just erase that. And I'm going to put the correction back on. So I'm just going to, there we go. So you can kind of come in and undo some of your spot healing just by simply erasing it. Now, if you had done your spot healing directly on the image, you wouldn't be able to do that. So what I did is I simply just kind of blurred her skin a little bit to kind of give it that perfect porcelain look. Now this, you can change the blur if you want more, you can go with less. It really just depends on what kind of look you're going for. So I'm just making it pretty apparent what I did so you can see it. So depending on the image, 5.4 pixels might be way too much. It might not be enough. So it's really up to you. You don't want it to look fake, but you do want it to look like this perfect soft skin, okay?